Hello everybody, it's Flesson19 and today I want to bring you something special. This is the ultimate guide to trading, where you will be able to get all the information you need in every aspect of trading in one location. Except for one part of this video, you will be able to find everything right here. That is so you do not have to go search all over the internet to try to find information you need. I will make sure that I timestamp this entire video so that way you can look for just the information that you need. That way you can always come back, find out what it is that you need, go right to that section, and not have to watch the entire video again. That is why this video will also be very long, because we will go through every single aspect of trading. When it comes to quests, to penalties, to skills, caravans, workshops, I'm going to run through everything that is needed. That is why this looks to be a long and daunting video. However, I wanted to make sure all your questions could potentially be answered in one video. I will save the skills portion to the very end of the video. While that would normally be near the beginning, I wanted to save it for the end because that is actually going to be the majority of what this video will contain, in which I will run through every single skill in the entire tree that relates to trading. This video is as of 1.5.5. If you see a little message in the upper right hand corner of the screen right now, that means there is a new video on this, and click on it now. If you do not see that, that means that this video is currently the current one available. Any small updates to this video will be contained in a new small video, which I will go ahead and link in the description and at the end of this video. That is why it is also advisable to check this playlist to see if there are any videos after it. This will be in its own complete separate playlist in chronological order, and that way you will know if there is anything of additional information or value that you need that is not contained in this video. That is also why it is very helpful if you subscribe, so that way you will see if there are changes. Because as we know, with virtually every main branch of the game, there is changes, especially to the economy, when you're talking about what stuff sells for, and of course workshops and caravans, they can change constantly. So you need to keep up on the information, and that is what I am going to do for you. Trading is a different aspect of the game. Normally when you fight, you join a faction, you fight, you get feast, you go to war, and that is how you win the game. In trading, it is a bit different. In trading, your objective is to trade, make money, gain skill, until you can get skill high enough to get the everything has a price perk. That allows you to buy feasts from lords for money. It's a completely different aspect of the game than you do in fighting, because in fighting you will actually capture feasts. However, when you do that, you will anger the lords, and you can lose relation with them. And as most people know, relation and the lord's wealth will constitute whether or not they're going to join your party, with a little bit of charm mixed in there. When you take over a fief of theirs, you lose relation. When you buy a fief from them, you do not. Therefore, it makes it easier to recruit lords after you buy a fief from them, because it will cost much less and it will be easier to do because you did not resort to violence to get their fief and to bring them into your kingdom. The golden rule of trading is buy low and sell high. That is quite obvious. However, people do not realize there is actually a silver rule to trading. And the silver rule is prosperity is a trader's best friend. I will give you a brief explanation as to prosperity. The lower the town prosperity, the cheaper their goods will be. However, the lower amount of goods they will actually have to sell and the less money they will have to buy your goods. Therefore, it makes it extremely hard to trade. The higher prosperity, the more goods they will have to buy, the more money they will have. So therefore, it is better to have a higher prosperity than a lower prosperity. The reason why I mention this is a plain and simple fact. As you can see on this prosperity screen, there are pluses and there are minuses. There is not much you can do to help a town's prosperity, besides giving them 10,000 grain. But there is one thing you can do, and it is questing. Every quest from a non-gang leader in a town or in a village connected to a town will decrease their prosperity, except for one, which I will mention soon. Therefore, by completing these quests, you will actually increase the town's prosperity. Everyone has a certain value to them. For the most part, it is going to be -1. There's one that gives a -0.5, there's one that gives a -2. So, as you can see with this guy, artisan cannot sell products. This is causing a -1, and you can tell by looking here and seeing settlement issue -1. A settlement is the town. Underneath that, you will see bound village issues. Those are the villages bound to the town, not into any castles nearby. So therefore, by completing quests, you can actually increase the town's prosperity. The reason why that is important is because you never want to allow a town to get below 2,000 prosperity. It is basically a snowball. If you let a town get too low, it becomes extremely difficult to actually get the town to raise back up. Whereas if a town gets high, it is very difficult for a town to go back down. The number one reason is the top one you will see, and that is surplus food. As I explained, as the lower the prosperity goes, therefore the more goods or less goods that they can have, depending on if it's going higher or lower. And that number, while a town might only have 1,500 prosperity, that surplus food bonus might only be 0.5. Where if you take a town that has over 5,000 prosperity, 6,000, that number could actually be upwards over 3. Meaning it's that much harder or that much easier for a town's prosperity to go up. That is why it is essentially vital to pay attention to town prosperity in the beginning part of the game, so that way towns do not get too low. High town prosperity is a trader's best friend. So when you are able to, try to complete their quest for them. And that is non-gang leaders. Gang leaders do not count. It is only merchants and artisans in town and the villages. So do not worry about the gang leaders. Some quests are easier to do, some are not. Some are just an absolute pain. When you have an easy quest, take it. possibly train the troops, deliver the herd, caravan ambush, extortion by deserters. Very easy quests to do. Some are a lot harder. Needing help with bandits. Escort merchant caravan is a terrible one to have. One helpful thing that you can do is actually have a companion with you that can complete it for you. And that way you don't need to worry about it. This is my companion that will complete the escort merchant caravan quest for me. You need to have one that has scouting and leadership. That can be tough to do, since it is very difficult to raise leadership, almost impossible to get it up that high for a companion. Scouting is not. Scouting is actually somewhat easy to do, especially if you throw them in a party. The two biggest problems is that they give out two different quests. The first one is something that is absolutely deadly to a town's prosperity, and that is dealing with bandits. That quest used to give a -5 to a town's prosperity. Was able to talk to Mexico and get that reduced to a -2. It is more manageable. However, -2 is still devastating. Any village that is near a bandit base can get that quest to pop up. Now, you can go ahead and do the quest, which just means you need to kill off some guys that get into range. It starts at 2 at the beginning of the game, and as you progress to the game, it moves up to 8 groups that you need to kill. However, it says that you need to kill step bandits. That is not correct right now. Any groups of bandits, including looters, will work for any quest in the game, regardless of what the quest says. So if it says mountain bandits, you can have forest bandits work. It does not matter. However, as the game goes on, killing 8 groups can sometimes be very challenging, and it can take a long time. Also, if you do complete the quest, the bandit base is still there, meaning at any time that quest can come back again. The number one way to deal with it is to deal with the bandit base. When you destroy the bandit base, that quest cannot come back. And if this village currently has that quest and you destroy the bandit base, that quest will be automatically canceled. Therefore, the town gets the 2 prosperity back. So if you're going to take out bases, which I highly recommend you take them out, also try to look and see if there is a bandit base quest close by to go ahead and grab along the way, since that offers relation money as well. I think it's 2,000 you get for clearing a bandit base. However, don't waste too much time. The moon needs to be completely risen for you to do a bandit base, and by morning you cannot do it. So there is a very small window in which you can attack a bandit base. If you miss it by morning, you will have to wait until the next night to go after the bandit base. So if you're sitting right here and ready to do it, but you want to run over here and see if this is a bandit base, then you're going to end up wasting a day. Which for a trader, you do not want to waste much time. So be very careful with prosperity in a town. It is your best friend, and do not let it get too low. Character creation is one of the most important things you can do when making a trader. Where you allocate your points and what culture you choose can greatly impact how your character performs throughout the game. This is a part in which I would normally try to go through the skills. However, being that skills will take extremely long and some people do not need them, I am saving that to the end of the video. However, if you're watching this part, you probably want to know about the skills. However, you will get to that at the end, and therefore the skills will be freshest in your mind, and therefore it will be easier to remember where to allocate your points. For your culture, for the most part, you're only going to choose between 3 cultures. However, I will run through all of them. Blandian, with a 20% upgrade, it is a decent one to start with, because it can help you out at the beginning of the game tremendously with the Train the Troops quest. That is to help you get more money. Very valuable for that. Also, being able to upgrade your troops, especially into cav quicker, helps out. Besides that, it offers no long-term bonus. Sturgeon, the 20% less speed penalty from snow, has virtually no help in the game. Unless you're going through Sturgeon territory, it's not going to do anything for you, and it is not advisable to take this culture. Empire, the construction speed does not really matter until you own your own kingdom. From there, it is an okay perk, but most people don't use it. So once again, it is not a very important part. Botanians, forts give you 10% less speed penalty to parties. This is an, once again, okay perk. But however, it is really not that advantageous. There are more forests than there is snow for the sturgeons, but it is very situational. So therefore, it's not normally ideal. The second best one to choose is the Kuzet. If you are planning to run a cab based, the 10% extra speed bonus on the campaign map is very, very good to have. If you are running infantry, then you most likely will not take this. The 10% bonus, yes, is nice, but it's not a huge bonus. So therefore, it all depends on whether or not you want to choose this or you want to take the number 1, which is the Assyri. Caravans are 30% cheaper to build. That is only really relevant to you at the beginning part of the game. As the game progresses, you will have a lot of money, and building caravans is not a huge deal. However, at the beginning part of the game, when money is tight, it costs a non-Assyri 22,500 to form a caravan with higher tiered troops, where it only costs an Assyri, I believe it is 15,750 or 250 to build the same. So therefore, for every 2 caravans on non-Assyri builds, an Assyri actually gets a free build of a caravan, since it is 1/3 cheaper. The 10% less trade penalty is also very, very good. That means that your barter percent penalty is 10% less, which we will go through later on. So choosing an Assyri, unless you are going to go heavy cav, is most likely going to be your choice. Once you have created your character, you now need to choose where you want to allocate your points. This is once again a very vital aspect of making a trader. You want to allocate your points where they are going to be the most useful. Now, for a trader, there is realistically only one branch that is the most important, and that is social. That is where you want to be able to put the majority of your points, so that way it can increase your trade faster, since you need to hit 300 to be able to get everything as a price. And the less attribute points you have, the longer it's going to take. You need a minimum of 8 attribute points into social to hit 300. And it can be somewhat advisable to put the full 10 into it, because it will make it harder to hit 300 if you only have 8, because you will have less focus points. And focus points are a multiplier to how much EXP you get. So it will take a lot longer to get 300 if you only have 8 focus points compared to 10. Bigger, I do not worry about. It is completely useless at the beginning of the game for a trader, and you do not want to focus in it because you're not going to use all 3 skills. Control is the same way. You will not use all 3 skills. There's no reason to put it into control. Endurance can be a little bit important for a trader. One, you can use smithing, which is right now a great way to gain skill. Also, you can build your own weapons. You will use athletics when you are sieging, and most of the time you're going to be riding a horse. So having a little bit into endurance can be a smart move. It all depends on your playstyle. Cunning can also be a decent one to have a couple points into if you choose. Intelligence. Steward is vital to a trader. 100% vital. If trade is your first most important skill, steward is your second most important skill, because that determines how many troops you can have, and how many troops you have determines how many horses you can have without getting a hard penalty. So I very much go into that. However, I don't put a lot of intelligence into that, and I will show you exactly how I do it. So normally the majority of your points will go to social. However, for this playthrough, I'm going to show you exactly what I do when I create a character. The first thing I'm going to choose is Urban Merchants. It gives me social and both points into the social. Next, I will choose Skill with Horses. It gives me Riding, which I'm going to use. It gives me Medicine, which the first 25 points in the medicine are extremely important because of the perk you get at level 25, which will not be covered in my video later on, but it gives you an extra 30% to your healing rate. So I like to have that. Caring for horses. Once again, we're putting points into endurance. Now, endurance will be important later on, which I will cover in the skills section pertaining to riding, and you will see why I put it into endurance. Also, caring for horses gives you steward. As I said, the second most important skill. With this one, I choose Road with the Scouts. Once again, it is endurance with riding, but it also gives me archery. And at the beginning of the game, that is what I use to fight looters, is archery. And it also gives you a bow and arrows. No other skill is really advantageous to pick from in here than Road with the Scouts. Lastly, this is where you can switch it up a little bit. However, for the most part, I like to stick with one. You can lead a caravan, which will give you cunning, tactics, and leadership. That is more late game. You invest in a workshop, which will give you blacksmithing, trade, and one into intelligence. Also decent, but not great. You can do Famous Escapade, which will give you endurance again, with a little bit of athletics, which will help out when you're, of course, later on doing sieges and you're doing bandit bases, and it gives you that roguery for turning in troops. However, I like to do Treated People Well. As you can see, it gives you social, charm, and steward. Those 3 are going to be used early game more than anything. Therefore, I cannot stress enough that while others may look good, you treating the people well is really, really good. For our last one, it gives you social, it gives you charm, which you will use at the beginning of the game early on with quests, and it gives you a point in leadership, which you can use later on. This is the setup that I always use. Urban Merchants, skill with horses, caring for horses, rode with the scouts, treated people well, and you organized the travelers to break out. As you can see, every single skill is going to be usable. Every attribute point is put into something that is going to be usable. And let me reiterate something for you. You need to have 8 social points to get 300 in a skill in the entire tree. It is somewhat easy to put 8 points into 2 different trees. It is extremely difficult to get that into 3 of them. So you really want to try to concentrate on just 2, and this setup allows me to concentrate on 2. And you might say, well, why would you concentrate on endurance when the steward perk is so amazing? For a trader, I will explain to you why when we get to the skills section. You will remember the riding skill and how absolutely vital it is later on. Once you have created your character, you then need to decide how you're going to go ahead and start building him up. There are 3 routes you can take. One is you can start trading immediately. It's a little bit harder to do because you do not have the carrying capacity of pack mules and you don't have much money to begin with. The other thing you can do is you can quest, which is a really good way to build money to be able to start trading. Just get a few troops, go from town to town, village to village, and do quests. It is a very good way to do it. Lastly, you can fight. This is why my character is set up with riding and with bow, so he can go ahead and go after looters. Another great way to do it. I like to go ahead and do it that way because I can quest at the same time as I fight. Now normally I do not start seriously trading for the first between 50 to 100 days that I begin a playthrough. The first 50 to 100 days are used to go ahead and save up money, rescue your family, get companions, get your wife, set up workshops, and then if possible, start working your caravans. That is the first 50 to 100 days. Once I have that done, I can then proceed into the trading part of the game. When you trade, you will learn that there are places to go where some stuff is great and some stuff is not, where it is easier to buy than it is to sell. There is no one perfect system, however, there is general rules that you can follow. One of these days I might actually create a map to show you where each item is realistically best sold and bought. You, however, will begin to learn where it is. Horses are always best bought in Kuzite and Assyri territory and are best sold in Valandia. Cheese and butter is bought really well here. However, olives and grapes are sold very well here. Cheese and butter is sold very good through Assyri and Valandia, although in Assyri you can buy grain, dates, and fish really good. So as you can see, places have a very good spot to buy and a very bad spot to buy. Just like there are certain places in which you can buy hardwood, which is Vatania, when all 4 of these towns contain a great amount of hardwood to buy. And hardwood is a great seller because you can make a lot of profit on it if you do it the right way. And that is buy low, sell high. You will learn the prices, and if you don't know all of the prices, you can always watch one of my 1000-day challenge videos to see about how I trade. I have 2 complete 1000-day challenge series up, in which you can just go over and start looking. Now, as each hatch is put into the game, it will seriously alter the economy. And that is, while some things might be very good, some things might be very bad. Grapes and olives are normally a very good seller over here. However, in 1.5.5, olives are selling pretty good in Kuzite territory. Grapes are not selling as well. In 1.5.4, wine and oil were about the same price. In 1.5.5, wine is actually cheaper than it was, and oil is almost double the price as it was in 1.5.4. So therefore, each patch, things can change slightly as the economy changes. So once you have the gist of how to do it, you will have to alter your playstyle, as when they put patches into the game to change fighting or skills, they do the same thing with trading. Trading will change over time. The economy will change over time. So that is something you need to be extremely mindful about when you are first beginning a game. There's two things that are absolutely vital to trading, and those are your first two perks in the trade tree. As you can see, you will see these sitting at green, yellow, and red. These are what profit can be made off of these. In your inventory space, you receive this at the level 25 trade perk. For the town, you receive it at the level 50 perk. Now, these can be a little confusing. First of all, in yours here, this is directly related to profit. Just because this is green doesn't mean this is a great thing to sell. It just means that because you bought this so cheap, this is actually going to return you profit. As you sell it, it will go from bright green to light green to yellow, which means no profit. Now it will start turning red to mean losing money. Now, if you want to just sell to make profit, sell everything until it goes light green. That means you're going to get the most money available that you have. However, if you want to go with the most profit, do not pay attention to this, pay attention to this. This is the exact opposite of driving a car. Green is bad for selling. Yellow is so-so, and red is good. Over here, you want to go and flip the script. You want to get green, not yellow, and not red. So you always have to try to remember that. However, over here, these will be the same. As you go up, this will be turning from green to yellow to red, and which I will go ahead and show you. As you can see, this is red. It still does have some yellow into it. And as you continue to buy it, it goes bright red. So as you buy things, they will go from being a good price to going up to a higher price. And this is not a great city to show it, as they do not have a lot of trade goods. Sheep could be a good one to do. And it's not really showing it. I should have probably picked a better city. So what you always want to remember is this. On the player side, think opposite of a sign. Sell red. Possibly sell yellow. Never sell green. That is here, not here. Remember, these are different. This is profit. This is not how much you're making off of this. This number right here is the overall global average of that item in every town in the game. If you hover over the number, it will tell you whether it is near, above, or below its average. That will work for everything except animals, which means horses, sheep, hogs, and cows. It will not work for them. However, as you can see, it will work for this. So, if you want to just sell quick, you don't need to pay attention to this. If you want to mass sell, just sell everything you have until it goes light green. That is to sell quick. So sell light green and buy light green. So now we will buy everything that is light green, and we will not pay once it goes yellow. So as you can see, we're buying all the light green everywhere. See, that is green, but it says yellow. It is just a little bit off. While you can make money on it, it is above its average. That is when you need to decide. But for the most part, you just buy when it is green, and then you can call it good. However, if you want to maximize profit, and profit is the #1 determining factor of gaining trade EXP. Not how much the sale is, how much profit you made. That is a number that is hidden that you do not see. If I sell all my grapes, I will make 3,100. However, I did not make 3,100 profit. You do not know. That is why the only true way to do that is to look and see, where is it red. When you see red, that means you can sell. Let me explain to you what I do. I will sell this until it normally goes light green, as there. I will pay attention to these on consumables. Consumables are things you eat, which is everything here down to oil and wine. From salt down, these are non-consumables. Normally, I will pay attention to whether this is orange or red. If it is red, I will sell. If it is not, I will hold on to it, unless I am in desperate need of money or I'm overburdened. Then I could go ahead and say, all right, this is still only orange, but let's get rid of it because I need the space. So then I will go through and sell everything until it goes light green. As you can see, that went light green. So it all depends on the situation you are in, because it determines, of course, with your penalty for being overburdened, which is something you want to be extremely careful with. That is, for the most part, how you trade. I do want to make one thing perfectly clear that a lot of people do not understand. You gain trade EXP when you buy from a town. You gain trade EXP when you buy from a village. You do not gain trade EXP when you buy from the villagers transporting the goods. So when villagers are coming to town and they are bringing their goods, which we do not have any coming to town at this moment, when you see a villager coming to town and you talk to them to buy, if you buy items off of them, you will not gain trade EXP for those items. Also, if you get the quest to where you can buy goods for a price, then you will not gain trade EXP for that quest either. Sooner or later, you'll get to a point where all of a sudden this number will appear yellow, and no matter how much you move this bar, it will stay yellow. That is because you are not gaining EXP for that. So therefore, that is something to watch out for. There are 3 different types of goods that you can deal with. The first that you can deal with is equipment. This is what equipment is. For the most part, you will not deal in equipment. It is just too hard to gauge how much equipment is. Therefore, for the most part, stay away from it. Also because a lot of this equipment is not currently marked. There are some things that can be marked. However, I am not seeing them. There is times when you will see equipment marked. So stay away from equipment. Animals. You have horses, which are pack horses, regular horses, and war horses. As of 1.5.5, they are an amazing way to actually get EXP. And depending on if you're going cav or infantry, you can deal with them. The other thing in which most people will do are called trade goods. If you click on this last miscellaneous tab, these are all trade goods. You have two different types of trade goods. You have consumables and you have non-consumables. Consumables are everything that is eaten. If you look on this side, from oil up is consumable, which means your party will consume these as you go along. The stuff below oil is all non-consumables. Therefore, these are things that you do not eat but can still be traded. The last part I wanted to cover was sheep, hogs, and cows. The reason why I waited for last is because, as you can see, everything has a weight to it, and that determines how much you can be overburdened, which slows you down. As you can see, the weight on these is big, very big. However, as I said, these are animals. These do not count towards your carrying capacity. This counts towards your herd penalty, which I will get into in a moment with herd penalty. So be extremely careful if you try to deal with these. As one, I told you cannot see the global average, and two, they do not count for the barter penalty, but they count for the herd penalty, which can slow you down. So be very, very cautious when you deal with these. From what I understand, sheep are used when dealing with wool reaveries to get wool. Hogs are used to go ahead and get hides for a tannery. Cows are mainly used, from what I understand, for cheese and milk production. There can be other things contained within those, but for the most part, that is what they are used for. So be very careful in dealing with these. Now, normally you will deal in higher amounts of consumables than non-consumables. There are some exceptions to that. Pottery is one, flax, clay, and hardwood are the others. You can deal in very large amounts of them, so be very cautious, as that will contribute to your overburdened penalty, which will then slow you down. The army that you choose when making this will play a huge role in exactly what you can carry, how you can fight, how much you pay, and how fast you move, depending on whether or not you're going to go with infantry or cav. As I explained before, depending on whether or not you want to deal with horses and whether or not you want a cav bonus will decide whether or not you go infantry or cav, or maybe you want to deal in both. Also, how high you build them up will determine how much of wages you pay for your party. So you have to decide how high of a tier you want to make them. However, having higher tier troops can help out because you will take less losses in combat, and they are also a lot easier when going after things like bandit bases. So deciding on the right infantry can play an important role in how much you pay versus how well you can fight. For an cavalry based game, I highly recommend that you use Kuzite troops. The two reasons why is one, you get them at tier 2. So all you have to do is grab a nomad, not a footman, but a nomad, and he immediately becomes a tribal warrior. At tier 2, you can have full cav, which is extremely, extremely nice. So you can build them up to cav very fast. The other reason, if you look onto here, which I might not be able to so much get to you, but if you look at the wages for a tier 2 Kuzite cav is 3. What other cav in the game is going to have a 3 wage? And when you're dealing with 100 and late game 200 troops, how often are you going to be able to say that your wages can be about 600? When a lot of people know that a high ranking army of 100 to 150 can run you 1,000 to 2,000, you could be saving anywhere from 400 to 1,500 a day in wages. That is why I prefer to use Kuzite cav above all else. Also, another side note is those are horse archers. So if I want to go fight some looters, I can just tell my guys to go stand far back, and if the looters leave me to go after my army, those Kuzite archers will take care of those looters that don't hang on you for skill and want to go after your army. So that is a great thing to choose when you decide which cav you want to take. I don't think there's any other tier 2 cav. I know Assyria is tier 3, so it takes a lot longer and you're going to pay a lot more for them. And that is why I love having Kuzite cav. We will now deal with the 3 penalties that you deal with as a trader. First of all, we will deal with the herd penalty. The herd penalty is sometimes not understood by people. The basic rule is this: you are allowed to have 1 horse for each cav party member you have, and 2 horses per infantry party member you have. Therefore, if you have 200 cavalry in your group, you're allowed to have 200 horses. If you have 200 infantry, you're allowed to have 400 horses in your party without suffering a herd penalty, as you can see down at the bottom. I do not have a herd penalty. However, there is a little rule that some people just don't get. You're allowed to have 1 horse of any type and 1 regular horse or war horse, since infantry ride horses when they're not in battle. So that doesn't mean that because you have 200 infantry, you're allowed to have 400 pack mules. You're only still allowed to have 200 pack mules. If you get any more, you will then get a herd penalty, and which I will show you here. I have 199 infantry troops. You will watch this number here. If I take any more mules, I will then incur a herd penalty because I am over my limit. Infantry cannot ride pack mules. However, if I take regular horses, I will now incur no herd penalty. My infantry are riding the horses. So therefore, if you use infantry, it allows you to deal in horse trading without suffering a herd penalty. Now, there are going to be times that you will sell your horses, and therefore, if your infantry doesn't have enough horses to ride, what will happen is your speed will go down. So we are going to drop from 3.2 down to 3.1. So you have to take that into consideration when you create your party. Do you want to deal in horses, or do you just want to deal with having full cav? That is something you have to decide early in the game when you are forming your army. Now you can always run a combination of both. I could run 100 cav and 100 infantry. Having infantry doesn't mean you can carry extra mules. It means you can carry extra horses or war horses, not mules. You can see what your penalty is before you even buy something, because as you move this bar, your herd penalty will actually change. You can see the 0.11 to where when we buy all of it, you can see that the herd penalty is changed now, and we're at a 0.5. So you can actually see what your herd penalty is, just like how you could see what your speed bonus will be from a 3.1 to buying all these horses, 3.2, and then we'll buy that, still 3.2. But that is how you could check to see what your penalty is before you even buy the product. And that is also useful for when you're selling. When you go to sell these horses, as you go and move the bar to sell them, this numbers down here will change as well. So you can see that as you are buying and selling. The next penalty you will incur is called a overburdened penalty. That is when you go over the maximum amount of carrying capacity that is allowed by your horses. Pack horses, such as work horses, mules, sumpter horses, carry weight. And they carry a lot of weight. Horses and war horses do carry a small amount of weight. Let me emphasize that again. They do. If you can look up here, you will see what our number is. 44,044. If I buy some horses, as you can see, the number went up. Just buying one horse, it went up. It went up by 30. So regular horses do increase weight. Sumpter horses, mules, old sumpter horses, and old pack mules all increase the same amount of weight, regardless of the animal. As of early or mid into 1.5.5, they all have the same amount. However, let me reiterate one small thing that is happening at this moment. It appears that because mules weigh less than sumpter horses and old work horses, which weigh almost 3 times as much, it seems the herd penalty is smaller with mules than it is with sumpter and old work horses. So while it is very easy, quick, and cheap to buy old work horses off of villagers coming back from town, it can actually increase your herd penalty by a bit. I have a feeling that this will be changed in a future patch, but as of 1.5.5 they're the same. So it's easier to get sumpters and old work horses, where mules actually sell for a lot more in trading than sumpters and old work horses. You can always see what your current weight is and what your carrying capacity is by hovering over this. This will show you your base, your horses, and all the perks available to you that is giving you a bonus. So whenever you do get a perk bonus, it will be listed here so you can see exactly what it is giving you. The last penalty we will deal with is what's called the barter penalty. Everybody has a barter penalty in the game. And what it essentially means is this. This is just an example. These are not the exact numbers, because for some reason I can't get the exact numbers from Tail World. So we will use this as an example. If an item costs 8, because of your barter penalty, you have to pay 12 for it. You got to pay more. And if that same item that's worth 8 you go to sell, you'll only get 4 for it because of your barter penalty. There are things you can do to decrease that barter penalty. Some things do currently not work, like the skill in the charm tree. That 15% reduced barter penalty does not work. So therefore, pay close attention to that. The number one thing you can do is increase your trade skill. As you can see, as you increase your trade skill, your trade penalty reduction is reduced. Therefore, as you progress, instead of paying 12 for that 8 dinar item, you might only have to pay 10. And when selling that 8 item, when you would only get 4, now you might be able to get 6. So as you progress through trade, you will be able to get better prices for everything. As I said, the exact numbers are not known at this time. That is why also starting as an Assyri is important, because it allows you to get items at a better price to begin the game. So while we have that barter penalty reduction right there, we have a bonus on top of that because we are Assyri. So we will always trade better than a non-Assyri. Workshops are a great way to make money early in the game. Before 1.5.5, workshops did not do that well. They were really, really terrible. However, in 1.5.5, a major patch was put in to increase the production of workshops. And now virtually all workshops are very, very profitable. At the beginning part of your trading, you need a lot of money. You need a lot of money to build your inventory, to have a high inventory. But also to have a high inventory, you need a lot of pack mules. So in your initial part of the game, you are going to spend way more money than you're actually going to make. You're going to constantly be broke. So to have a good influx of income early in the game is essential to being a good trader, because the faster you get started, the quicker you can build your inventory and the more you can sell. So choosing the right workshop can actually be a challenge. The normal rule is wherever they have something in high abundance, they are going to be able to produce it at a cheaper cost and therefore make more money. I will take into account Asgard. Asgard produces more grain than any other city or town in the game. And that is because they have more grain producing villages than any town in the game. We have grain there, we have grain there. So Asgard, Quasara, and Sanala produce more grain than anyone. So breweries in those towns are a great idea. And as you can see, I have breweries in all of them, and there are the prices they are making. Now, of course, these numbers will change according to how much is available, how much the stuff is available costs, how much the stuff is currently selling for, and of course, the prosperity of the town plays a huge role, again, in how much you make. But as you can see, wool weaveries are doing just as good as breweries. The last thing I will mention on workshops is what we call flavor of the month. And normally when a patch is done, some workshops seem to produce better than others. At the beginning of the game, it was wood workshops. Those got nerfed. Then it became smithies. Then once that got nerfed, wool weaveries became good. Then all of a sudden breweries were fine. So things kept changing. With the last change, it seems to be tanneries are really, really good. This tannery in Jacqueline has been providing me between 450 and 650 a day, depending on all those key factors. While that is a great number, it is not something I'm going out of my way to achieve, because I would prefer the steadier income of a wool weavery to a brewery when I first start out. So it is all tailored to what you want to do. Do you want to exploit the flavor of the month, or do you not want to? Some people decide yes, some people decide no. You are allowed to have one workshop equivalent to clan tier plus one. So whatever your clan tier is, add one to it. At the beginning of the game, you're 0. You're allowed 1. Every level you go up, you can have 1 additional workshop. So when you max out at 1.5.5, currently clan tier 6 is the max, you can have 7 workshops. Caravans. This is something I will not go into very much. And the reason why is because I have already put out a major video on caravans, and it takes a bit of time to explain all the aspects of caravan. This video has actually been endorsed by Dev Mexico on the forums, so therefore feel very confident that this video is pretty good. I do try to update the video from time to time to let you know what things and what changes there are to that. However, I want to keep that on a separate one because I also try to report the profits that are made. Running a caravan is not as simple as just throwing a guy out there to run a caravan. There are certain things that you can do to increase the profits that caravans can do. I highlight that in the video. Right now I have one video up, and then I have a follow-up to that video. But you want to watch the first one because that does a really, really good job at explaining all the aspects of running a caravan. Caravans can make really good money. As you can see here with all my caravans out, some make more than others. There are some days you may make nothing. There are some days you can make well over 1,000. As Mexico put it, caravans are high risk, high reward. That is why they vary very differently. That is why also I concentrate on workshops at the beginning of the game, because I do not want that risk at the beginning of the game, because you want to get going as quick as possible. So if you want to know more about caravans, and I highly, highly recommend you watch that video, because there are things that people do not know that I have found out from Mexico himself that can actually change and make it so you can make more money. For the last part of this video, I am going to go over every single skill in the skill tree that will benefit a trader. There are quite a few skills in other parts of the skill tree that benefit a trader. In bow, at 100 skill, you have Merriman. This is something that you will have to really decide if you want to do, because the other perk is mounted archery, which decreases your mounted accuracy penalty. That is something most archers use. This one gets you 5 more party size, which of course means you can have 5 more men, 5 more horses, so more carrying capacity. So this is a very, very big trade-off that you have to decide upon. So this is something that might not be well used, however, because it is in the bow skill tree and it does help out a trader, I did go ahead and put it in. One of the biggest that you are going to get, and this is why at the beginning I tell you I put so much into endurance, is because of what you get in riding. At 75 you get filled to the brim. As you can see, it increases your capacity of pack animals, which means your pack animals can carry more before you get overburdened. Also, the second part of the perk, you get a better deal for buying and selling mounts. Mounts are not pack animals. Those are regular horses and war horses. So that is a very important perk to choose. At 100, you get Sweeping Wind, which is not a huge thing. It gives you a 2% increase to your campaign movement speed, which is very minimal. However, it is a bonus, so I did include it. The big one that I wanted to include is going to be Riding Horde. 175, very high up to get. This is why you can attack looters along your way and kill them so you can gain riding. The herd penalty by 50%. It will cut your herd penalty in half. Which means realistically, you can carry so many more horses. I normally, as a general rule, will carry a 1 herd penalty. I feel that is the right number balance between carrying and slowness caused by the herd penalty. If a herd penalty of 1 means, let's say, I am carrying an extra 100 horses, that means you can carry twice as many and still have the same penalty. Or if you just want to carry the 100, it's going to cut it in half from a -1 to a -0.5. That is why getting riding can be extremely important, because there are 3 perks in this tree to help out a trade. Athletics does have a couple. However, they are very high up. In the 175, we have Energetic, and that will have a 20% less speed penalty for being overburdened. So therefore, if you have a 2 overburden penalty, it will decrease it by 0.4. That's a very high perk to get. That is something you're probably not going to achieve unless you're specifically on foot. It's something very high up, and I don't anticipate most people getting it. The other one is in the 200, which is Strong. This will I'll go ahead and give foot troops 5% map speed bonus, which of course is not a lot. However, as I said, because these do affect traders, I did decide to include them into this, because you never know if athletics might get a boost in a patch to level even faster than they currently are, and therefore you at least know about them. Next, we are going to go into Scouting. This contains quite a bit. The first one is going to be either Night Runner or your Day Traveler. You're either going to gain a 2% speed bonus during the day or a 5% at night. It just gives you a nice speed bonus is what it does. At 50, you can get Pathfinder. It's not the greatest. It will give you a 2% speed bonus in plains or steppes. It's a little bonus. It's not great. So it's something, once again, that I decided to go ahead and include. The other one at level 75, you can gain a 5% speed bonus in deserts and dunes. It's, once again, it's okay. It's not tremendous, but it's okay to have. The level 100, this is one that's actually a pretty big one, and that is Overburdened, in which it gives you a 20% less penalty for being overburdened. At 150, you get Mounted Scouts, which gives you a +5 to party size. So therefore, it allows you to realistically have more men, which means more horses. At 200, we get a very, very small trade penalty reduction. This can give you a 5% reduction in cities of your own faction, or a 10% reduction in villages of your faction. So it's just to your faction, and it is very small. However, it is a bonus. The last one we have is Uncanny Sight, which gives you a 0.1 movement speed bonus for each point over 200. So getting 300 in the skill would essentially give you a 10% speed bonus, which, like I said, is not great. However, it's something. So if you're traveling at 5, it would increase it 5.5. So once again, scouting is a pretty decent skill, although, as I've explained, you can only get 2 of them up to 275, realistically. So you have to choose between riding or cunning. And for me, because riding contains that overburden penalty, I would very much rather prefer the 50% less herd penalty, not overburden herd penalty, over getting this, because I only need to get to 175. So I very much rather prefer putting it into endurance. Tactics does have one at 75 morale leader, and which it gives you plus 10 to your party size, which is not bad. However, like I said, you do need to invest points into it, which can be a little bit difficult, and I do quite a bit of simming, so I do gain some tactics, but as you can see, I'm only at 16 because I don't really invest the points into it. Charm. When they do redo most of the skill trees, they do try to keep a lot of this stuff the same. Some they do not. Now, Charm has a level 25 skill, which is called Diplomacy. This is a barter penalty reduction. However, this perk does not work as of 1.5.5. I highly suspect in 1.5.6 they are going to redo the Charm and Engineering trees. Highly suspect it. Those are the last two we're waiting on besides Smithing. Leadership, 175. Uplifting Spirit. It will give plus 10 to party size. Alright, that's pretty good. However, leadership is not normally something you work on until you become a vassal and can make an army. So while it is nice to have, it is not normally something that you will get early in the game. It is something you will get late game. So remember that when it comes to these leadership perks. Talent Magnet. Alright, now this is something that is going to be a little bit off and not so much into the trader, but I wanted to include this because of what it exactly does, and if somebody does decide to do leadership early on. Most people know you are restricted to 4 parties in this game. Your party and the 3 parties you get for being a clan leader. You achieve them at clan rank 2, 3, and 4. You receive an additional party. You do not receive an additional party at 1, 5, and 6. However, with Talent Magnet, you can make an additional party. Why is that important? Because it is important for Renown, which is something I will deal with at the end of this video. So Talent Magnet deals with that. It also adds random focus points to some of your people. And that is okay, but it could possibly do trade, which is used for doing caravans. The other major one, in which unfortunately we really aren't going to deal with, is probably the second best perk in the game in my opinion, which is Ultimate Leader. This will increase one party size for every point over 250. So the max you can get on a skill with 10 social points and 5 focus points is 330. This would allow you to get 80 additional party size with this perk. Unfortunately, it's something we will probably not achieve early game as a trader. However, if there's ever a way of going about doing that in a trading build, maybe later on down the line, that is something you want to pay very, very close attention to. Steward. This is actually a very important one that you don't realize. Spartan will allow you to consume 10% less food. As you know, we deal in trade goods, which are consumables. Those consumables get eaten by our party, and we can get pretty big party sizes. This will allow you to actually use less food, therefore saving that food to be sold. The other one is 5% less wages, which is more money. However, I very much love saving on that extra food. At level 75, you get sweatshops. What sweatshops will do is they will increase the production of your workshops by 20%. So they will increase and do 20% more building, which is something that it's okay. It's not terrible. At 100, we will get two different perks. You can get paid in promise. That is companion wages and recruitment fees are 25% less. It is something that you might look at and say, okay, well, that's pretty good early game. However, I will always caution you when it comes to this. One of the most vital perks in the game is called Efficient Campaigner. This is an amazing perk. Probably the second best war perk in the game. What this does is this allows you to pay 25% less party army wages while actually in an army. You have to be in an army, but you pay 25% less wages. So later on in the game, as long as you're in an army, your wages are cut down by 25%. So that is something to always be very, very mindful of. If you're going to think that you might want to take paid in promise, always be careful because you do not want to miss out on Efficient Campaigner. The 225 perk. Arenikos is mules and Arenikos is horse. If you'll see from the mules, 20% increased campaign carrying capacity of pack animals. Okay? And the trade penalty for pack animals is reduced by 20%. With the horses, 10% increased carrying capacity for troops. Those are two really important choices to actually think about choosing from. Whether or not you go with the mules or whether or not you go with the horses, because this also decreases your trade penalty with mounts. So that one can actually be very, very difficult to decide, because by the time you get to this point, you're going to be pretty late in the game, and you might not want to be concentrating on mules because it might be about time to stop trading and start your kingdom, in which you might want the horses instead. In my opinion, one of the best perks in the game is Price of Loyalty. Now, once again, as I said, you need to have 8 attribute points in to hit 275, but that is a 0.1% decrease in the cost of wages, and you have food consumption, and you have morale loss. That perk is absolutely amazing. However, if you're going to have, of course, social being done, you're only allowed to realistically have one other. So whether or not you choose intelligence or you perchance choose endurance will make a big deal in that. Now, obviously, if you're going to want to concentrate more on war, then you don't really care much about endurance, and you're going to want to definitely bump this up, because that perk is absolutely amazing compared to Price of Loyalty and Ultimate Leader as to which is more important. It really is 1A, 1B. Having a lower cost of loot consumption and paid wages compared to potentially having 80 more troops. There's really, I don't see any win or lose argument for either one. So getting that perk is absolutely amazing to get. Now we will get to the trade perks. As you can see by what I have sitting here, I have the upper portion of every single perk. I'm pretty sure they're always the same. They don't ever vary. As you can see, I have the upper one on every single one. That might be a little telltale sign to you to say, okay, always easy to remember. Take the upper one. Now, things can change, which I will make a video. So how do you know which one to take? For me personally, take the upper one. That is what I personally feel is the best one to take. Now, there can be some that will be different, and I'm going to run over a couple of these perks for reasons. We'll deal with the level 75, which is local connections and traveling rumors. Now, early trading into the game, traveling rumors is great because your caravans will say how much the prices are. So when a caravan gets to a town, it will report to you the prices of every trade good in that town, which is really nice, really nice. However, there is a small little problem to that. As you can see, the secondary perk is 15% decrease in the buying penalty price from villages. If we move up to local connections, it is a 15% decrease in the selling price or selling penalty price for animals. So if you are going to deal in animals, then this is the perk you actually want to take. So this is one of the ones that can be left up in the air. I personally choose local connections. However, if you're going to do a ton of trading and you want those traveling rumors to find out where the prices are really high for certain items, you can take that. I, however, do not chase items, which means when I see a price is huge for something, I normally do not go after it. And the reason why is because it feels like a lot of times by the time I get there, enough caravans have come into the city to normalize the price again. So all of a sudden I'll see they're paying 15 for grain at Onira. And by the time I get there, they're down to 9. Because enough caravans have come through to normalize the price. So therefore, traveling rumors to me is not a huge deal. The next one we're going to deal with is with Artisan Community and Great Investor. This is a very, very important perk which I will deal with at the end of the skills. This will go ahead and give you 1 renown for every profitable, always got to remember that word, profitable shop you own. So as long as your workshop makes money, you're going to gain 1 renown per day per workshop. Where Great Investor will give you 1 renown per profitable caravan. Now, we will stop right there for a second. As you can see, I have 6 workshops. However, at this point, I have 7 currently. 7 caravans, and because I'm holding my 1 companion back, I have 7. If I put that person out, I will have 8. You will always have more caravans than you have workshops. Always. Now, why would you might choose to take then workshops over caravans? For 2 reasons. 1, the ward is profitable. As you can see here, sometimes they don't make money. The fish barely made a profit. If he doesn't make a profit that day, you don't get the renown. Second of all, when they get captured, they're not making money. Therefore, you're not gaining renown. Where for the most part, unless they run out of supplies, your workshop will run continuously for the entire game. That is why a lot of times I will choose the workshops over the caravans. Because also renown can only get to 6. So once you get to 6, the perk doesn't matter anyways. So that is something to keep track of when you first think about that to yourself. You're thinking, well, obviously it's caravans. You have more caravans than workshops. Little asterisk behind it. Remember that. Sometimes it's smarter to take the workshops. Another thing you have to decide is whether to take insurance plans or rapid development. If you take insurance plans, if a caravan gets plundered, you get 5,000 gold back. If you take rapid development and a workshop gets seized, then you get 5,000 gold back. So that is something that you have to look at. However, you have to look at the secondary perk. That is the important thing here, the secondary one. Insurance plans has a 20% decrease in the buying price penalty for consumables. That's food. Where rapid development has a 25% decrease in the buying price penalty for clay, iron, cotton, and silver. So as you can see, that's only 4 items. Where this is all consumables. That's everything you can eat, which is like 12 items. So that is something you really need to think about, because caravans will not be important late game. You're going to have workshops, you want to have caravans. However, I think I would rather have the 25% barter penalty reduction for consumables. For the 200 perk, you basically just have to decide where do you want your decrease in the selling price. The bottom one is for pottery, tools, coffee, jewelry, and of course the top one is for trade goods. Again, like I said before, I want to deal in trade goods, so that's why I choose the top one. I did want to mention about Spring of Gold. When you look at 0.1% interest per day on gold, you have 0.1% is low. That's like a tenth of a penny on a dollar. That's nothing. However, if you think about that for a second, if you have a million gold, that's 1,000 gold. That's a lot of gold. That's 2 workshops or caravans for free. Maybe you have 2 million, now all of a sudden it's 2,000 a day. That practically pays for one of your party's armies. Their entire party it'll pay for. So while it doesn't sound like a great perk, it kind of is a great perk. I will say the 275 perk is one of the most disappointing perks in the game. Especially for traders. I feel like virtually every other perk in this entire tree is great. And for some reason, the last perk before the end is realistically junk. I'm not going to run through it because I just think it's absolutely junk. And it doesn't really matter that much which one you pick. They're junk. Finally, we come to the main one. This was prior to 1.5.5 at 225 skill. They decided to make it a 300 skill. It takes you a long time to get this. Now, I am currently, as of the recording of this in 1.5.5, I am working to try to get traders help in achieving this quicker. I am doing a lot of recording, a lot of videos, a lot of talking with the devs, trying to find a way that we can get this earlier. As I estimate, it normally will take about somewhere between 11 to 1,500 days to get that. And that's with 10 social points. If you only put 8 social points, I figure it could take 14 to 1,700 days to get. That's not really the funnest thing in the world to do. So as of this recording, I am trying to get that changed. I'm trying to work on them to give us some help. Hopefully we will have some help. The final thing that I want to talk about, which doesn't so much concern traders, but it is something that your trader always wants to consider. The one thing that is never advantageous to do as a trader is to run extra parties. What are you going to gain out of it? Maybe a tiny bit of relation. Maybe, what? What are you going to gain? Okay? So, there's a couple reasons why you want to go ahead and do this. First of all, you do want to give your little brother, your little sister, or other people a chance to gain some skills. So that way, when it comes time to go to war, they actually have some skill. Obviously, it's going to cost you money to run these parties, and a lot of money, upwards of 2,000 to 5,000 it's going to cost you. However, there is also another very big reason why we're running these parties. As to go with the artisan community skill that I told you about, where you will gain 1 renown per day for workshops, or if you choose the other one, 1 renown per day for caravans, you are going to gain renown every day. You also gain renown by their actions. What some people don't remember is, I do not own this renown. My clan owns the renown. So if you die, you don't lose all your renown. Your clan owns it. Your heir will take over and keep the same one. By having that perk going, artisan community or developer, you're going to gain renown a day, and then making these parties pretty early on, they're going to be able to gain enough renown. As you can see, at 281 skill, I am almost clan tier 6. Without doing that much fighting. So that way, when it comes time for me to get everything has a price and become my own kingdom leader, I'm already clan tier 6, the max you can get. So that is one thing to always put in the back of your mind. Try to run the parties as soon as you can afford to, and make sure you can get that correct one chosen the right perk to decide between workshops gaining renown and caravans gaining renown. Because getting a clan tier is absolutely vital right now. At clan tier 5, with a couple perks and being at 242, I can currently run an army size of 210, not as the leader of the kingdom. That's a really good number for just a trader. And as we all remember, as I've said before, the more men you get, the more horses you can carry. And as you gain in clan tier, you get additional party size as well. So they do go hand in hand, and it is worth mentioning. For the most part, that is my entire guide that I have to how to trade. There is a potential I might have missed a few things here and there. If I did miss it, please bring it up to me. So that way when I do eventually redo this video, which I will redo down the line, I'm pretty sure before it goes live I will redo it, I can go ahead and I can include that into the next video, so the next person that has that question, they will not miss out as well. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment and I'll respond back to you. And as I always say for everybody, take care and thanks for watching.